recorded, yeah. The local castle, nothing. We could share we are broken. What we see, and sisters should be now what that. No, I did not the moon. Oh, in I, Adisia, Charlie. Opera, yes, you should be na. Yasho the Kipus Castle, no, because it is slave trade asamna no nye easy. Ebinum abrepa ye. Na yen ne day ya no nye easy. So we have to go appreciate bra yen nananom ana yen sisters yen papa no yen brothers binum bre wo castle we mu Cape Coast Castle. Nti wo indi na echi na enko Kwame Guy TV. Charlie, once subscribe to the channel. Ahayana Obama on your papa nina Ghana ha baby ara.
Wow, so nice. Let's look at this place. It's very nice. In Cape Coast Castle, yes. Today we are going to learn the slave trade, yes. The slave trade that went over this place. So currently at the Cape Coast Castle. Yes, we are at the Cape Coast Castle. Guys, let's go together.
Dead bodies were buried all over here. This courtyard was a cemetery, but for the British, because I indicated that when some of the captives died, their bodies were dumped into the ocean. But the British had this as their cemetery. The courtyard was excavated. When the excavation was done, only 4 graves had marks. 1 African grave, 3 European graves. The African buried here, Philip Kwaku. Philip Kwaku was from Cape Coast. The name was Kwaku, born on Wednesday. The father of Philip Kwaku was a middleman, one of those Africans doing buying and selling of slaves. It's that Philip was awarded scholarship by the church to study in Britain. Philip attended Oxford University. They ordained Philip, became first African to be ordained a priest of the Anglican Church. They brought him back, worked with them for 15 years as a teacher and a pastor. He died 17th October 1816 when he was 75 years old. Now indicated that slave trade was abolished here 1833. He died 1816, meaning he came or even died before slave trade was abolished. So Uncle Philip was preaching the gospel after this. His fellow Africans were dying. And can you believe that every 17th October, the Anglican people, especially those in Cape Coast, celebrate him. They come here, surround the grave, say prayers, lay flowers on the grave and scream. Last year they came. Hopefully, in a few weeks' time, they will come. So those of you be around, you can join them. With very ironic name, C.B. Whitehead. Whitehead was a lawyer by profession who joined the military. He died here July 1812 when he was 38 years old. Letitia Elizabeth London was the wife of George MacLean. She came here to visit George, but she died just 2 months after she arrived. Rumors, gossips had it that malaria parasite killed her. Others, as when she came, George was having a girlfriend from Accra called Miss Ellen Bannerman from Osu. When Letitia heard that, out of jealousy, she poisoned herself. Others, as in the girlfriend, the African mistress, poisoned Letitia. So to date, we don't know how to killed her, whether it was parasite, homicide, or suicide. She died 1838, she was 36. George MacLean came here around 1830 as administrator. He designed a bond known in Ghana as the Bond of 1844. It's a bond which paved way for the establishment of British colony in Gold Coast for 100 years. He was the architect. Then Governor Commander Hale, with 8 fancy chiefs, Ghanaian chiefs, signed the bond on 6th March 1844. Gold Coast, now Ghana, became a colony to the British. So see, the British were our slave masters, became our colonial masters. Ghana is still a member of the British Commonwealth. And I don't even know what at all we get from the Commonwealth, because we Commonwealth games are never played in Africa. Malaria killed him. 1847, he was 46. So see, Philip the African was 75. The Europeans, 38, 36, 46. Malaria. They were harvesting rainwater from the roofs of the castle. They reserved the rainwater here. And the captives were those who were dependent on the rainwater, drinking, cooking for them. When the British picked some of the female captives to abuse them, to rape them, they fetched water from here for them to shower before they took them to their bedrooms. But they dug wells in town, water from underground, like boreholes. They were depending on those wells, rainwater here for the slaves. Each one like this can hold about 3,000 gallons of water. They still fill them with pipe-borne water. They pump, they fetch water here. When our taps are not flowing, for painting, for cleaning, and doing other stuff like that. So we still use these water systems.
Guys, I hope you are enjoying the story behind the slave trade in Ghana here. Today I am finally here, so we are all exploring together.
Here. And the door before us is over 200 bad years. This door is about 200 years. And it's made of wood and metal, pitch pine wood. To make it more stronger, they coated the wood with metal plate. Cell. But this is not an ordinary cell. Contamination cell. Not a wet room of no return. Short ones, watch your heads. Tall ones, walk straight.
Short ones, we walk straight. Oh. I will sleep here tonight. Guys, let's check this room. Our forefathers we struggled.
This room was a storeroom. So you can see there was a door here. When it was a storeroom, the door was there. When they wanted to use the room as a cell, they then closed the door. And those captives wanted to fight for their freedom, the freedom fighters. But they were seen by the British as stubborn or rebellious ones. But one thing we shouldn't forget is that they suffered for too long. And when man is suppressed, oppressed, depressed, or repressed there for a long time, one day he will fight back, explode. Those who tried to escape and were caught, and those who constantly fought them, could be 2, 5, or 10. They will chain all of them together, push them in. They will lock them up with first door, second door, third door. The doors were 3.
Wow.
No light, no ventilation, meaning no oxygen, no food, no water. 2, 3 days, maximum 4. They will die. Sadly, when they locked the doors, they made sure all of them died before they opened. I mean, even after 3 days, when they open, see 1 or 2 still alive, they will shut the doors again till the last person is gone. So see, if I'm here with you and if you die before me, the only thing I could do is to sit or lie by the bodies, with the chain on the ankles or my ankles, waiting for my turn. And if any of you died on the first day, no, by the 3rd, the 4th day, after they will bring in some of the male captives for the bodies, gather all others at the courtyard Those who come in for the bodies, they will instruct them to go show the bodies to those guarded for them to see what they did to those they brought here. So they were killed here, they were murdered here for no offenses. Just that they wanted to fight for their freedom. That is why the Romans got condemnations here. They pushed them in alive, took them out. Oh.
Vor allem das Ganze unter dem Namen der Kirche und unter dem Namen von Gott. Ich habe halt die Kirche, die überlebt haben und jetzt hier besser besucht sind als bei uns. Obwohl dieses ganze Leid im Namen der Kirche gebracht wurde. Ja, das ist ja das macht mich auch echt traurig, dass es einfach hier so.
Palava Hall. Palava is a Portuguese word which means confusion or trouble. The British adopted saying palava, but to them palava meant to bargain, negotiate. But in Ghana, palava is a sauce. We also have palava sauce in Ghana. So palava to the Portuguese, confusion, to the British, to bargain, to the Ghanaian, sauce. And this is where the buying and selling took place. In fact, the slave market is bigger than the church. Meaning where they were making their cash was more important to them than where they claimed worship. There were doctors, nurses, merchants, company representatives right here. The merchants, the companies will set their tables, and on their tables, what will you even see? You just see guns, gunpowders, mirrors, fabrics, liquor, tobacco, knives, sugar, and all that. Those captives brought in by middlemen and other individual slave raiders were those who were first brought here for examination and auction. Though there were some greedy, very, very greedy Africans who were also raiding for their fellow Africans, selling them to the Europeans. But some of them were not brought here at all because they were not purchased, they were not bought. Rather, they were kidnapped, deceived by the Europeans themselves. When they had these ones, they sent them into the dungeons straight away. Sometimes, the European companies sent their local agents to go inland to some of the slave markets, like Salaga. Salaga is in the northern part of Ghana. Salaga is where they have the biggest slave market at the time. They bought captives from there when they brought them straight into the dungeons. But those brought in by middlemen, like our own Uncle Philip Kwaku's father, who was a chief called Obrimpong Kujo, were those who were first brought here for examination and auction. So this was the slave market. Any question?
At this point?
No, we renovated, we refurbished this hall nicely, and sometimes you rent this hall out for meetings, for conferences, for workshops and things like that, not for birthday parties.
Guys, as you all heard yourself, this is Palava Hall. Yes, Palava Hall. Let's go to the next place. Oh, wow.
We are all filled with the natural AC here. It's very cool up here. We're in the living room. One governor at a time. The Europeans not coming with their families, nor their wives, nor children, because of tropical diseases. They named West Coast of Africa 5 months away, because some of them arrived here 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year they died. But because of the 3 G's, they were still coming. You know the 3 G's?
No.
Gold, God, glory. But some few days ago, a man suggested we should make it 4 G's and add greed. They didn't say greed should be number 1. And I think I agree with him. So you can say 4 Gs: greed, good, God, and glory. So they were still coming. So one person, just one person occupied this hall. And this hall is bigger than a chamber in dungeons for 200 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 windows. Compared with the dungeons, 200 captives, 3 holes. Just half a window is bigger than the close the dungeons for 200 people. The bedroom is right there, 5 windows. 5 plus 9, 14. There are 2 windows here, making 16, but about 3 doors. So they stayed afters, and George, the awesome priest, Africans, landowners, were held underground for sometimes no ventilation, like the contamination cell. Let's see the bedroom. From here. The other one is called Fort Victoria. Fort Victoria. And these 2 forts were built not as slave posts. Soldiers up there, so far, they saw enemies, pirates coming first before soldiers at the barracks here. When they saw anything like that, they gave them information here using signals, lights, flags, and muskets, bearers. The signal, especially flag, the color, determined the kind of information. So there's communication room downstairs, meaning there's no MTN, no telephone, or Vodafone, no Wi-Fi, but there was WhatsApp.
Right, just check around.
Take a signal, don't be going there. Okay.
Alright, guys, right now we are at the top of the building. Let's check around. Check. Oh, sorry. Guys.
I don't want to make my next step now.
Just look around.
The year 1665, just a year after, the Dutch also did well this time around, captured the fort from the British. So they also renamed Fort York Fort Amsterdam to retaliate what they lost in America. So New Amsterdam is now New York. Fort York here is now Fort Amsterdam. Fit for that, They pounded gunpowder in the cannon, a board fixed at the man, fire. Some of the boards are with holes. Those with holes were filled with gunpowder. They entered the wooden ships, exploded. Those that holes entered the ships, created holes in the ships. Water came in, the ships gradually sank. The Ghanaians especially. Let me tell you something about these cannons. You have to forget. But this one is not part of the talk, so you pay me after that. These cannons are called in our canon with pure fancy, Premo. On radio, during 12 midday, 12 noon, they can't speak in FM stations. They don't say Premo or Premo. Once this cannon fired, the peers when they were here were firing one of these boom every 12 midday to alert people that it was 12 noon because voyages were not common. That is what has become a norm until radio Premo every 12 noon. And I believe most of the radio TV presenters do say, but they don't even understand what they talk about. So when you mix them, you educate them and charge them. And no, today is Sunday, so let's go to church.
Aber diese da draußen werden nicht mehr. Also Abstand, dann noch eine Kanone, die auch nicht mehr. Ja, stimmt.
Oh, 我小罗。
Das war das erste Mal, dass sich das gut anfühlt. Ja, genau. Aber wenn man
Society for the propagation of the gospel. What's the name of the church? I repeat, Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. SBG Church, first church of England in the country. Church of England is now Anglican. Anglican churches are all over Ghana. Methodist Church Ghana started from this continent. Catholic started from Elvina Castle. The church is now children's library. So school children come to the library to read. So this organization from US of A, they sponsored for the renovation of the library. They did very, very well. I did them well. But I have to see what they wrote here. See what they wrote here. A child who reads will be an adult who takes or no. This one there is like me. Will you ask me why?
Why?
You know, there were some people, and still are some people who cannot even read. I mean, they never read when they were young, when they were children. But they were adults. They are adults and they think sharp. And there are some people who can read, they read everything, but unfortunately. You don't understand. And reading has got nothing to do with thinking. You read just to get information, right? Processing the information is what I think requires some thinking. That was just by the way. This is the spy hole, those who have been in the dungeon. This is the spy hole we saw in the top chamber. Those who came late, I'll show you this when we go to the male dungeon. It was a spy hole. And again, this hole served as a feeding hole for the servants. We saw in the third chamber of the dungeon, right at the entrance of the church. That's why I said they could be passing for church services and they could hear the captives screaming for them. Imagine somebody like our own Uncle passing for a service on a Sunday morning, maybe for communion service. We got a pepe and heard the African screaming. You might think they are hungry. By doing them a favor, you can go back to his living room, pick a piece of bread, drop it through this hole. They will struggle for the bread in their faces, in their chewing, in their vomit. Have the same person who pass into the church and preach the gospel, sing praises, Amazing Grace, which was originally composed by John Newton. John Newton was once a slave ship captain. Later he repented, I think after making enough money. He repented and became a pastor. No, possibly they also heard them on. Captains also heard them here singing, preaching. But they couldn't come out to join them worship. Because the Bible says, if in hell, there's no way you can go to heaven. And I said that it's like heaven up here, hell down. Very powerful piece here. Very powerful. It's written, in everlasting memory of the anguish of our ancestors. May those who died rest in peace. May those who return at least find their roots. May humanity never again perpetrate such injustice against humanity. We, the living, vow to oppose. This was unveiled by our Ghanaian chiefs. 1992, during the Maiden Panafest, they unveiled this one. I indicated that some chiefs brought some of their prisoners of war and sold. Some chiefs who happened to be the custodians of our land gave the Obians land, built these several dungeons. In my own opinion, without the consent of these few chiefs, this evil trade wouldn't have been successful. So 92, they unveiled this one in memory of our ancestors. And to me, most importantly, they are telling us that we shouldn't allow such injustice to happen again because a lot of people were killed. But sadly, we still see this man around. Mr. Injustice is still with us. In our countries, in our societies. And I said that I entreat all of us. When we see him, we shouldn't keep quiet. We should say it on my friend, not me. So I'm not worried, I'm unconcerned. Because Martin Luther King Jr. once told us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. This dungeon is the worst dungeon they built. And this is underground. This is underground. You don't like it? Steps.
Oh, okay.
This is the spy hole we saw from the little church. Yeah, right in front of the church. In front of the church. That's why I said it could be passing for church services until they hear the captain screaming from the dungeon. Let's take this in the first chamber. This dungeon looks like a warehouse. It looks like a warehouse because there's no windows. But it was not surprising that they constructed something like a warehouse for Africans. Because they said Africans were not human beings. Africans have no souls. But a while ago they said they were coming to save our souls, make us Christians. I don't know at what point. So at what point Africans lost those souls they said they were coming to save. Can you turn off your light? Yeah. See how dark it is. Understand? Imagine how dark it will be at night. And because the dungeon is always dark, some of them lost their sight. Because they didn't here for about 3 months, later went out. The sun rays affected the eyes of some of the captives. 5 chambers in the dungeon, 5. This is the first one. Each chamber like this, 16 by 32 feet square, was for about 200 people. 225, for about 1,000. This one was called strong chamber for those who were physically, mentally very strong. Because they were strong, they chained them by their ankles against this wall. Look at something. We don't have to chain some posts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Again, they locked them up. Oh, you cannot join us. We are down, I told you.
With everything?
Yes, with everything. Yes. So they were locked up and chasing these folks. Again, locked them up with the 200 people, sometimes, if not always. The dungeon became very hot. When it became unbearable for them, started screaming, they poured water on them to cool down the temperature a little bit. When they poured the water, those who were very thirsty used the opportunity, cut their hands, wasted, sucked each other's hair for some water to quench their thirst. 30%, as I told you, were killed in the dungeons. And there were several diseases killing them. Because as we heard in the female dungeons, they defecated here, urinated here, vomited, spat here, they ate here, they slept in it. With unkempt hair, rotten or decayed teeth, smelling bodies, some having sores on them. Imagine the stench, the house flies, the mosquitoes, the pain, the hunger, and the anger here. This dungeon was used, not for 5 years, not for 10 or 20 years. It was used for over 100 years. And for that bad long years, they never cleaned the space for them. When water comes in when it rains, the water is supposed to flush out. Toilets, urine, vomit, blood, and water come into the sea. Look at this.
looking closely, you will see that the floor here is a little bit higher than the floor outside the ropes.
Sure.
Some inch higher than the outside the ropes. And this, what is making this portion a little bit higher is the feces, the urine, the vomit, the blood, and all that on the original floor. And the floor of this chamber was like this. Just that archaeologists came from University of Ghana, Legon, excavated this chamber. That is why we are seeing the bricks here. From the excavation, they took from here chains, shackles, ropes, branded iron they used on the floor. As I said, they fed them normally twice a day, but little food just to sustain them. Most of the time, they were bringing food for them. When they were hungry and the food was not coming, they became very aggressive to avoid attacks. That is when they were dropping the food from the hillside.
Constantly door of the time. Let's walk on the time. Let's walk on the time.
Chcete be my dungeon?
No.
Ich weiß, das müssen wir machen.
Oh! Drop. About 18 feet deep. And this is the tunnel. Those who are with me in the dungeon. This is the tunnel which entrance is blocked off in the male dungeon. Those who came late, this is a tunnel. The entrance is blocked off in the male dungeon, which I will take you there later. When they were taking the captives to the ships, they became very aggressive because they didn't know what they were taking them to. And again, the British themselves did not want visitors here to see the captives walking around in chains and shackles. So they hid them. They marched them underground from the dungeon and they walked past to the exit. This was just a spy hole, meaning they were not going down or coming out here. A soldier stood there just to keep an eye on them. Move, go, move, go. And it's about 18 feet deep here. The construction done by manpower. So no wonder it took them about 50 to 60 years to put up the structure. Wow. Let's see what we're doing now. You can start. The tunnel ended here, blocked off. After slave trade, we can join my yes. After slave trade, the British built multiple walls in the tunnel. They used parts of the tunnel as storerooms and water systems. Some years back, we wanted to move the walls so we could walk our wonderful guests like you through, and also to see what is actually in it. Because listen, there are some people, there are some historians who have the view, assertion that when the British abolished slave trade here, the male captives who were still in the dungeon were not freed. There was no ship coming to take them.
So they pushed them into the tunnel and sealed it.
Oh.
Buried them
Life.
because they will not let them go back to tell the people what they want in the dungeons, to mobilize people come attack them. So let's bury them to conceal, to bury the history. But we open, you cannot deny nor confirm this. From the male dungeon, they walked them in chains and shackles here. They were going out to this one. But see what was coming in during high tide. That is why they closed this. When they closed this, they marched the men out, joined the women to the door of no return, sat on canoes, 400 to 500 meters. When they entered the ships, we lost contact with them. The bigger ships and the slave ships were also called floating coffins. Because on the ships, the captives were packed like sardines, head in, head out, head in, head out. Very difficult for them to maintain. For about 6 to 8 weeks. So conditions on the ships were even worse than the dungeons. And some of these ships had very ironic names. Names like Jesus, Santa Maria, Amistad, God is able. So imagine a ship that carries slaves with the name Good Ship of Jesus. And these same people who came here with ships named Jesus were raping some of the female captives. So some of them were rapists. Denying them sexual advances. Those who wanted to protect their little dignities left. They are some 12 kind of women. About 8 of these women were pushed inside here. They locked them up with a heavy metal bomb. Give them food, water, just once a day. I told you in the dungeons they were normally fed twice, but in the cell once through this hole. There's a hole down here for feces, for urine, for vomit, for blood. Because you know, as young ladies, when they were here and somehow they are cycled all into the hole. After 7-10 days, those who survived were allowed to go back into the dungeons, just to punish them. So next time they would have come. Also to serve as a lesson to the other people. And out of this nonsense, some became permanent. They built stone houses in town with nurses and midwives, so they took them there. Few months, 3 years after delivery, the mothers were brought back. Those who were weak worked there as domestic slaves. Those who were strong, later they shipped them. The babies, a majority died. The few that survived, they raised them. They started a school with them, Cape Coast Castle School. And you know, Cape Coast Castle and other castle schools form the basis of formal education in Ghana. So formal education in Ghana started as the result of the atrocities some of our female ancestors were made to go through. So they educated them. Some grew up, became workers, secretaries, clerks, spies. They sent some away, became supervisors, supervising the enslaved Africans because they were having lighter skin. And some of these mixed children, the mulattoes and the mulattoes, were named by their European fathers. Some local people adopted some European names. These are some of the reasons there are several European names along the west coast of Africa, especially Cape Coast. You'd hear names like Smith, Grant, Wood, York, Brown,
McCarthy,
Williams, Addison, Nelson, Thompson, Johnson. But if you go to a place like Ashanti in Kumasi, a typical Ashanti will hardly bear a second name like Johnson. Rather hear names like Chamantain, Crantain, Boateng, Ortin, Atontain.
Guys are overwhelmed with what he is saying. Wow, yes, you can see this.
The sitting vice president of the United States, and it's like she's getting closer to the seat. Kamala Harris, mother, came here last year and laid this one. Natural flowers in a white crown, always laid by. Not Americans don't do the excellency thing like they do in Africa. That's why I'm simply calling her Kamala Harris or Madam Kamala Harris. You know, she has something to do with the history here. Because her father was from Jamaica. You know, Jamaicans are brothers and sisters who are taken from here. That's why she's called Harris. You know, there are several Harris in Ghana. The mother was from India, so she had the opportunity, she take home and make this one. Other ones were led by some visitors, well-wishers, and sympathizers. So next time you are coming, I will be expecting those. We saw the men had 5 chambers for about 1,000 men. But ladies, women had 2, because they needed more men than women to work on plantations. And they needed the women again for reproduction, because children of enslaved Africans automatically became enslaved. So the women had this chamber on the opposite wall. They took about 300 female captives. And children, boys and girls, who were 10 and little above 13, were here with their mothers and their sisters. They also defecated here, urinated here, vomited, menstruated. And one sad thing was, as young women, when they were here, some had their cycle. It flowed on them and flowed till it ended and dried. Because there was something like a night club, no sanitary pad for them. They're not even allowed to sometimes take them out. You can imagine the conditions. The floor, not excavated. So again, what we are standing on is built up of feces, urine, vomit, menstrual blood, and a whole lot. Most of the soil petrified. Light ventilation originally from these only holes. Later, they created these windows. They put animal bars there. Came from their living quarters. Because of the smell, they stayed there to avoid attacks. They were not entering. They rather stood outside, looked through. You come, you come, you come. They didn't focus. Those selected, they allowed them to watch them. Give them food, something to wear. So they will look good. They will smell good for them in their bedrooms. Door of no return. The French will say,
Porty Moloch.
This is the infamous door of no return. Final exit point for some of our ancestors. Door of no return because some of our ancestors were forced, migrated to the new world, through or via this door and never returned. Door of no return because they went to this door and we lost contact with them forever. Most of them died, though. Most of them died. Because listen, some researchers are saying that in total, the Europeans had about 60 million people, slaves. The business which lasted for about 400 agonizing years. Out of the 60 million, there's only about 10, 11, 12 million survived, made the journey. Let's take the highest figure. If 12 million survived, about 48 million were killed, died, perished. 48 million people is more than Ghana's population, right? And all these people we are talking about were young men and women. Most of them were between the ages of 13 to 45 years. Those were very strong, very energetic, very intelligent, were the kind of people they sent away. So Africa was robbed of her natural resources as well as human resources, and they are still robbing us. This very can emphatically say European slavery part and is still having huge negative effects on the continent. Because what it is about 400 years to do. Ghana, for instance, cannot use just like 67 years to recover. Just that the pace is too slow. So after they took our ancestors, used them, developed their various countries. Some of them now call us lazy people. Some of them might even say we are the shithole countries. But they've gotten that the same people or their ancestors who created, created the so-called shitholes in order to develop their countries. It was short and narrow door, but widened after slave trade because Cape Coast was the capital of Gold Coast. 1877, the capital was transferred to Accra. So we're still here, stealing our gold, ivory spices to the door. Captains back down, squeezed themselves, one after the other, went to the door and never returned. We are also going to go to the door of no return, but I promise you, we are going to return.
Please, let's come forward. Let's come forward. Let's come forward. Then look. Door of the. We're going to take some pictures of the door you do it. After, because of the service, shall return, tell you about door of return and wrap up. They were not using the door of no return. The British were using the staircase because the door was short and narrow, only for the captives. This beach is still called Abrofo to White Man's Beach, because this beach was exclusively for the Abrofo. So they built a wall all over here to prevent the people living around from coming here. And so just about 2-3 years ago, when they constructed this, the sea was coming very, very close. All this place was filled. When they built this, they pushed the sea a little bit far. Let's pretend, talk about drop return and say bye-bye. Then I'll also make the then I'll take it there. To break the jinx of or to break the cycle of the European slave trade. And we named Dorfton on 1st August 1998, 26 years ago, when Ghana celebrated the first Emancipation Day. During the event, 2 caskets contained skeletal remains, bones, of 2 descendants who died and buried. Madame Crystal from Jamaica, Samuel Cousin from New York. They exhumed their remains from them to Accra. They boarded a car from Accra to abandon Fort Amsterdam. When they got to Fort Amsterdam, they said, no, we are not going to go by road again. No. Rather, we go by the sea, like the way our people were sent. They put them on canoes, paddled back there. There were officials, family members, waiting. When they arrived, they received the remains from them, brought them to the door, to the courtyard. And the very moment the remains passed to the door, the gates of door of no return got broken. There was a ceremony here dubbed Great Homecoming. And after the ceremony, they drove the remains to Assin Manso for reburial. There's a river at Assin Manso called Ancestral Slave River. When they were bringing the captives, when they got to the riverside, they stopped them, shake them, give them back, polish them with Shabbat, but those were somehow old, weak, with some gray hairs who looked younger, attractive for higher prices. So they spent weeks here, never back. Last African battle at Assin. So that is why they sent the 2 remains of Madame Crystal, Samuel Cousin from Jamaica, New York, respectively, for reburial. On that day, August 1, 1998, when the jinx of door of no return got broken, Ghanaians named the other side Door of Return. Inviting our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, African Americans, African Caribbeans, African Europeans to come back to Africa, to reconnect, to help develop the country. This is that when you return, you saw the war, both the peace and Accra. And Accra means war, so you are all welcome. Any question? Before we say bye-bye, before we end the talk, what I want to leave you share with you is that we are all aware that the dungeons in all the slave posts, slave castles, are empty, meaning European slave trade is indeed over. But sadly, painfully, we still see forms of slavery, injustice, unfair treatment in our homes, in our villages, in our cities, in our countries. Child labor, child trafficking, child prostitution, racism, mental slavery. We abuse our house helps, workers, wives, children. Let me use this opportunity to say this, and in case I offend any of you, forgive me. What is trending in Ghana, some part of Africa, and I believe some part of the world is that some people deceive some young men and women, especially young ladies. They promise them better lives, better jobs. Take them to especially some of the Gulf countries, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Dubai, Qatar, and others. And these same people who promise them better lives, when they take them there, let's are raped by several men a day. Some of them have been killed. Some of them, when they narrate, when they tell you their stories, you realize that the kind of treatment, the kind of pain, the kind of agony some of them go through in those countries
It's not that different from what happened in the dungeons. So we should not go out, do our best, ensure that slavery and slave trade would never, ever, in any way, in any form, against any of the races, because we may not know the next perpetrator and the next victim. And I don't believe that any of us here would like to be a victim of slavery or slave trade. But if you see anyone who wants to be a perpetrator, this is what Abraham Lincoln said, and I quote, "Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally." End of quotation. What I'm trying to say is, if you want to treat your fellow human being as slave, want to trade the slaves, you come. Let's lock you up in the dungeon for a couple of weeks, couple of months. When you survive the dungeon, when you come out, and you think, you feel it is comfortable in there, you can then start keeping your fellow human beings in the same condition. So let's all try to treat each and everyone equally, at least like the way we treat ourselves. When we do that, I trust and I believe this world will be a very, very peaceful world for all of us. Once again, my name is Richard Kwesi Obin, your guide. Have a nice day.